Today I'm going to be refuting the claim that completing the high-speed rail project in California will produce significant advantages for our state. This claim was supported by the following minor claims. The high-speed rail will provide necessary environmental improvements throughout our state. The project will create jobs in California. And the high-speed rail train will aid California from entire cities to each individual traveler. I'll start by responding to the minor claim that the project will provide environmental improvements. The claim is made that the high-speed rail will have environmental benefits because the train engines will use electricity produced from renewable sources. Although electricity has the potential to be an environmentally friendly energy source, it is not inherently so. According to energyalmanac.ca.gov, in 2010, California produced only 70% of the electricity consumed. Also in 2010, only 13% of the electricity California produced came from renewable sources. California does not currently have the capacity to produce enough clean energy on a large enough scale to support its current needs, let alone the added demands of the high-speed rail project. Another claim was made that the project will have environmental benefits because it will reduce the number of cars on the road. The issue with this reasoning is that it is extremely difficult to project how many people will choose to use the train rather than drive. Samir Madanat, director of the Institute of Transportation Studies at UC Berkeley, was quoted in a San Francisco Gate article saying, "The forecast of ridership is unlikely to be very close to the ridership that would actually materialize if the system were built. As such, it is not possible to predict whether the proposed high-speed rail system in California will experience heavy profits or severe revenue shortfalls." Another issue is that the construction of the rail project has huge environmental costs. As a comparison, after the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, or BART, was built, Charles Lave conducted a study for the Institute of Transportation Services at UC Irvine. This study concluded that based on the energy savings provided by the use of BART, it would still take 535 years to recoup the energy consumed to construct the project. The final claim made to show an environmental benefit was that the train is more efficient than other alternatives. Randall O'Toole is a member of the Cato Institute. In a paper analyzing the California High-Speed Rail Authority's environmental impact study, Mr. O'Toole wrote the following. For comparison purposes, the environmental impact study includes an alternative that concentrates on building more highways and expanding airports instead of high-speed rail. This alternative, the authority notes, would cost more than twice as much as building a high-speed rail, but it also does more than 5 times as much to relieve the traffic congestions as the rail alternative. While the rail alternative reduces congestion by 3.8%, the highway air alternative reduces congestion by 20.6%. The final claim was that the high-speed rail project will benefit entire cities to each individual traveler. I refute this claim saying that the California high-speed rail will not be able to provide the benefits it proposes because it is a flawed plan. The California high-speed rail will not have dedicated tracks, meaning it will have to share tracks with freight trains and traditional passenger trains. Bill McGee wrote in a USA Today article, "When it comes to high-speed rail, advanced technologies often need to work within the confines of existing infrastructure. The United States could begin building the world's fastest trains tomorrow, but until we develop new systems, in many cases those trains would still be operating on aged rails, switches, bridges, and tunnels, and fighting for space with freight trains and slower passenger trains." An example of such a conflict is Amtrak's Acela line that operates in the northeast part of the country. A New York Times article describes the Acela situation. Today, Acela is capable of reaching 150 miles per hour, but travels that fast only on an 18-mile stretch in Rhode Island and a 10-mile stretch in Massachusetts. It has not achieved Congress's goal of a 3-hour trip from Boston to New York, and a quarter of the time the trains are late. The California high-speed rail project suffers similar issues because it too will share corridors with freight trains and traditional passenger trains. This inhibits the project from truly being a high-speed rail system and will impact its ability to provide the proposed benefits. Over the past few minutes, I have shown why the high-speed rail project in California does not provide the environmental benefits used to justify the project. Also, that it is not truly a high-speed rail system and may perform in an underwhelming manner. Thank you.
All right, at the start, the claims are labeled pretty clearly, but in the beginning, in the body of the speech, the first and the second points are not as distinct as they need to be. I thought you had a good, clear explanation about the electricity issue at the beginning, and you had citations on that talked about the amount that we're able to produce currently, and I think that the inference that since we can't currently provide our own adequately, the notion that we'll be able to use this from these alternative green sources is really problematic. Also, the other idea about the challenge on the ridership, I thought was pretty effective at minimizing some of those benefits as well. The environmental costs, I thought that you had a good comparison to BART that you explained, and the impact of the construction on the process. Also, I think you do need to explain a little bit more the argument about the benefits of expanded highway and airport transportation systems. I got the statistic that you presented, and I think I understand the impact that you're talking about. But if you're accurate and it reduces congestion, for instance, by 20%, is there an environmental benefit from reduced congestion? That's one of those arguments that needs a little bit more development. For instance, that means that there's less pollution going in the atmosphere. People are actually traveling more efficiently, which means that they use less energy, which cuts down on the CO2 that apparently we're worried about, and all those kinds of things. So you just need a little bit more filling out of that. On the last point, I thought that you did a pretty good job, again, making a comparison and showing how this is not likely to produce the times that are desired. And you've got a very direct analogy that you're making to the Acela line that you talk about. One of the things that you might want to do is to strengthen the comparison to that, is to show how the current construction plans in California are, in fact, dependent on some of those same trunk lines, or that they have to go through the same places or rights of way and that sort of thing. Anything that shows that that's the case, I think, makes that analogy a lot more valid. All right, thank you.